Hello, Giddy Gangsters. Great to see you guys out there. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. Today we're going to take a little minute to talk about the proper use of a zero fret. And we'll talk about nuts and stuff too. But there's a misconception that's out there that you have to use a jumbo fret for the zero fret. And we're going to call a spade a spade. I know where you guys get this idea. It was from Del Puckett, because he does that. But what you guys fail to do is listen to the rest of his build video, where he says when he puts the strings on, he files slots in the zero fret to keep the strings from moving from side to side, which brings the level of it down even with the rest of the frets. Nobody thinks of that. Let me show you real quickly. Like, okay, if this is a side view of a neck, okay, and these are the frets, would you put a taller fret, say, at the 5th fret? Why not? Because then none of these frets would play and these would be all out of tune. The same thing here. If this is your zero fret and it's the same height as everything else, then your intonation point is going to be exact. If you raise that up with a jumbo fret, you see that space that's the top of your frets? That means you have to push the string farther down so that it connects the fret above it to play the note. When you push the string farther down, it's the same thing as bending the note. You're stretching the string farther and it's going to make the pitch go north, sharp. So you don't want to do that. And everybody thinks that it has to be taller there because I don't know why. It doesn't. It has to be level. If it's level, you don't need to file slots in it. You use a string retainer on the end, which I get these from CB Giddy, and they just go on the end of your fretboard, thusly, and they make slots there so that your strings don't go sideways whenever you bend notes or when you're playing. They stay in their lane. That's all you need. You know, if you're going to use a nut, okay, here we have a nut. Now, a nut is like a zero fret, but it has more functions than that. One thing, the slots in a nut are angled so that the intonation point is right here at the edge. And also the width of the slot is so technically half the diameter of the string is supposed to sit in the nut slot, with the front part touching the front intonation point and the back part lowers because you have back angle to your tuners, which gives you the right tension. The depth of the nut slot is critical. If it's too high, it's the same thing as using a jumbo fret for a zero fret. If it's too low, you're going to get string buzz because when you push this note down, it's going to fret up here and it's not going to play right. So there's a way to do that. If you want to use a nut, okay, I have a neck here that doesn't have a nut in it, and I'm just going to take this piece. This is just a piece of walnut that's the right size. That would be my blank nut that I put in there, okay? Now I took a carpenter's pencil and I flattened it in half on my bandsaw or on my belt sander. And what you do is you lay that on your frets, you take it over to your nut, and you just draw a line. That line is even with the height of your frets. So when you look at it, that's the depth your nut slots have to go to be not too high or not too low. So when you're filing nuts, you got to ease up to that and keep checking your insonation. If this note is G open, this first fret should be G sharp right on. Yeah, everybody checks the octave, but these lower frets are critical. So if your thing is too high, it's going to be sharp, 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 and it'll start to get in tune as you get above the 5th fret. But all your lower thing where you're strumming chords, it's going to be out of tune. It's amazing how many people just, it's in our psyche. You got to use a jumbo fret for the zero fret. No, you don't. Del does it because he files slots in it to make it level. I ordered some kits from CB Giddy recently, and when the necks came, I was blown away. They had jumbo frets for the 0 fret. Ben, what are you doing? That's not right. I had to pop them out and put regular frets in. That's really okay. So once you have everything is there with the same size, say this is a 0 fret, everything's the same height, then what you do is you do a fret level, crown, and polish. To level your frets, you basically take the masking tape and tape over the fret parts, just leave the metal exposed. I'll just do one to show you. You know, you do this all the way up the fretboard. And then what you do is you take a black Sharpie marker and you mark the top, a line right across the top of every one of your frets. Then after you've done that, of course you have to tape all the way up. After you've done that, you take your leveling beam. Now this is just a piece of oak that I ran through my joiner and got perfectly flat. And then I have it pulled up here so you can kind of see. I put some plexiglass on there, which is really smooth. So I put 220 sandpaper on this side, and you just put it on top, and you lightly go back and forth. And it'll take that black magic marker off the top of your frets until you have silver or whatever, you know, the black is gone on every fret. Then you know everything's level. So then once you have everything level, by sanding it, what you did was basically flatten the top of the fret. And, you know, this is what you've done if this is the top of the fret, and what you want is this. So you take a file. I have this little file, and I made safe edges. I grind safe edges on the sides, and you just come along. You mark it again with the black magic marker, and you come along and you go this way, and you go this way until you have a really skinny black line right at the top, like skinnier than a 1/16 of an inch. And when you do that on all your frets, and of course you have to do the edges too, but that's a different thing. Once you do that to all your frets, then your frets are leveled and they're crowned. And then while you still have the tape on, get some metal polish and polish them. And they will shine, and you will be positive that when you put strings on that guitar, every note will fret perfectly. The intonation will be right on. Depending on how high your bridge is where you can raise and lower your action, but you can get action as low as you can possibly want. Or if you need it higher, you can make it higher, just put a taller bridge on. But once you get it like that, you have perfect intonation, and that's what you want to have. I'm sorry everybody thinks you have to use a jumbo fret for a 0 fret. You don't. It actually works against you, because when you put that there, you know, then you got to push farther down on that string so that the second note will fret, and it's just like bending it. Move it that much, it's going to take it out of tune. So please, stop using jumbo frets for 0 frets unless you're going to do like Dell does and file nut slots in them. But if you're going to do that, why not use a bone nut? I mean, you know, it's not much different, because when you're filing a fret, you're just filing a slot in a fret. There's no way to mark how deep to go, and you could go just a little bit too deep, and guess what? It's getting a string buzz, and it's not gonna. That doesn't hold the string in place very well anyway. They'll still use the string retainers up here to keep tension on the string, and I wish you would just use a regular one and use one of these or something similar to this that just keeps, you know, it keeps the strings where they need to be. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So until next time, everybody have a good time, because I know I will. And we'll talk to you later. Bye.